Right. I congratulate the Senior Rights Services for organizing such a very successful conference, and thanks again for having me. So thanks for the kind introduction. Let me see if this works. Okay, so today I'm gonna talk about elder abuse with focus on cultural values in the Asian context. Nope. I need to figure out a way to make this work. Okay. Right. So, well, globally, we're looking at an aging population, but this increase will be particularly drastic in the Asian society. We are talking about a threefold increase between year 2000 and 2050. So if we are talking about elder abuse, we're talking about like a recent review by Yang Ji-yong suggests that 1 in 6 persons living in the community for an abuse victim. So multiply that number by the Asian population, we will be talking about, thank you, we'll be talking about a lot of older persons potentially falling abuse victims. And when we talk about elder abuse in Asian, people tend to look at filial piety. And here I'm showing you the Chinese character of filial piety. That's the one in the middle. And the upper ones are the modern characters, and the lower ones are the ancient characters. As you can see, the Chinese characters are very pictorial. So technically, the word filial piety is a combination of the word on your left, that is old, and the word on your right, that is a child. So filial piety actually refers to a younger son, an adult child, carrying his or her older parent on his back. So according to the principle of filial piety, one is expected to provide for his aged parents, to return his aged parents with love and care and obedience. So most people would assume that in Asian cultures, in Asian societies, older persons have this prestigious position in the family, and then they enjoy all the respects from the family, and then they are immune from abuse, which is not exactly true. And then the picture on your left, so we're looking at like what is expected thousands of years back. Here we have a daughter-in-law nursing his mother-in-law, leaving a crying baby aside. So technically, if you were assuming the mother-in-law has trouble eating solid food, so you are to take care of the senior members in your family. That would be your top priority. So somehow, this is what was expected thousands of years back. Decades back, we expect that we'll have the father taking care of the son, and then the son would eventually take care of his son, and then they would return all the favors upwards, and upward transfer of care and support as the parents aged. And this picture on the left, this is what I downloaded from well, we don't have Google in China. So this is like the Chinese version of Google. And this photo has captured lots of attention from the media. What we have here is, it was like around this time of the year, Chinese New Year, and then people were rushing home. We have this adult son who is feeding his mom while they're waiting for the train back home. It attracted lots of media attention because it doesn't happen anymore. So this is like the filial son of the modern days. Most often, when we are talking about like taking care of an aged parents, it will translate into sending the aged parents to a nursing home. And in many Asian countries, this is considered abandonment and neglect. So parents, they want hands-on care from the child. They want to stay with their adult children. So, and what we did, this is a review I did a couple of years earlier with my colleagues. We tried to look at the prevalence rates of abuse in Asian countries. Apparently, abuse does happen in Asian countries, and we're very similar prevalence rate. We observe similar risk factors as well. So we are very familiar with the definition of elder abuse proposed by Imperial, later adopted by WHO and CDC. A single or repeated acts or lacks of appropriate actions occurring in a relationship where there is an expectation of trust which causes harm and distress to an older person. Like it is generally accepted or universally accepted in the research community and service providers. But what do Asian people see as abuse is essentially different. First off, we have disrespect. In Chinese society and in Hong Kong, we talk to older people and then apparently they feel that if they are treated as if they are transparent, it is a kind of abuse. And some older Chinese suggest that when the children share the caring responsibility, so they move from one household to the next. They may be staying with the elder son for a couple of days, and then with the younger daughter for a couple of days, and then with the younger son for another week. So they consider this like being kicked around like a human ball. That, for them, is abuse. Please may I know, is there anyone in our audience who speaks Korean? Anyone? Okay, good. You have to trust me then. Apparently, in the Korean language, if you want to express something, there are two ways you can say it. One is the kind of language you use with your peers, like people of the same social status. And one is like the more respectful language that you use to convey your message to someone who is more senior than you are, who are older, whom you respect. So according to Korean mother-in-laws, apparently, if their daughter-in-law, it is only the daughter-in-laws, or the sons are okay. So, yes, like if their daughters-in-law speak to them in that like common, plain, less respectful language, that is a very serious form of abuse. So respect somehow is still important in the Asian culture. And in Taiwan, people consider it social abuse. People consider it abuse if they are not allowed by the family members to see their other family and friends, when they are not allowed to to teach their grandchildren. So social isolation is considered a serious form of abuse. And in India, again, that came from mother-in-laws. If they are being used as domestic labor, if they are asked to take care of their grandchildren, take care of the household chores against their will, that is considered abuse. And in Japanese culture, somehow we have younger generation blaming the parents for whatever wrong, whatever ills happening in their own lives. So that, again, is considered abuse. So apparently, what Asian people see as elder abuse is a little bit different from what we accept internationally. And so to look into the relevance of cultural values in terms of abuse, we talked to 40 elder abuse survivors. Well, these people have to be elder abuse survivors because we recruited them from an elder abuse shelter. And then we asked them about their victimization experience, what happened to them, their help-seeking behavior, what were the barriers, and what were the factors pushing them to live in an abusive situation, and their attitudes towards abuse, etc. First off, denial, where as you could imagine, like most people that I talked to suggest that, no, this is not an abuse. I wasn't a victim. It was family conflicts. It was my daughter wasn't feeling well. She was too stressed at work, so she threw a little temper. This is not abuse. Denial is very common. And then when we ask them, like, what are the reasons you stay in this abusive relationship? You have a bruised eye, you have blue eyes, and then your bruises all over. What are the reasons you stayed? Most of them said they want to maintain family harmony. So we have a very old Chinese saying that an harmonious family breeds prosperity. So in order for everyone to be happy, the family needs to stick together. Harmony is important. Faith. So when you admit that you are an abuse victim, that essentially means you haven't been a good parent. You raised a kid that beat you up. So you must have done something wrong. You must have raised your boy in a wrong way that he came back beating you up, like he hasn't been a filial son. And this is especially true for women. Like they're worried that people may laugh at them, and then when they tell someone outside of the family about the experience, it is like losing face for them. And fatalism, I talked about that yesterday at the Carer Forum. Somehow, some people believe that it is destiny, it is fate that they got abused. So the abuser, the perpetrator, must have been someone they owe a debt to from a previous life. So in this life, they are paying back their debt from previous life, so they may as well tolerate it and pay back whatever debt they owe. And if you think it is fate, it's destiny that you become an abuse victim, you probably won't do anything to seek help, right? There's no point stepping out of that relationship. And lack of knowledge. For this generation of older persons in Hong Kong and China, very few of them went to school at all. So most of them lack the ability to read and write, and they may not have access to internet, so it is difficult for them to know there's help out there. And towards the end of the interview, merely out of curiosity, I asked my participants, so let's say you have an acquaintance, a friend or family, who had very similar experience as you did, so your friend is being abused by the family. What would you do? Well, I thought they would say, okay, I'll ask them to call for help, I'll refer him or her to shelter, I'll talk to him, I'll help. Nope. Most of them said, no, I would just leave them, turn a deaf ear, turn a blind eye, because that is his business, it is his family. You don't want to get nosy, you don't want to meddle with other people's business. Again, someone quoted a Chinese saying, sweep the snows from your own doorsteps, don't worry about the frost on your neighbor's roof. So everyone for himself. And this is another study that I want to highlight here. What we did is we interviewed 149 family caregivers. We asked them whether they had abused the older care recipient. And then we followed them through for 6 months. And then we look at like number of hospitalizations, whether they hired extra help for caregiving, whether they used daycare and other forms of community service. We track caregiver stress, depressive symptoms, everything. And then we asked them again at 6 months follow-up. What happened is the single most salient predictor for abuse at 6 months follow-up was abuse at baseline. And we actually hand out pamphlets. We give them information about okay, thank you. We give them information about elder abuse helps out there, like shelters and like caregiver support groups, suicide prevention centers, all those information. And we asked them whether they sought help 6 months after. None of them used any information that we gave them. They are aware that there are help out there. There are like counseling, there are anger management programs, communications skills, etc. None of them used those services, and those who abuse continue to abuse. So that speaks for the importance of prevention in elder abuse, because once people start abusing the care recipient, it becomes a habitual way of their interactions, and abuse escalate. So it's very important that we provide early intervention and prevent abuse. So what I want to highlight for practice, cultural sensitivity. When we are intervening, when we're trying to go out to prevent elder abuse cases, we need to have this sense of cultural sensitivity, be aware that Asian people, they tend to conceal family matters, and their concerns about family reputation. And then we need to build very good, trusting relationship with an older person before talking to him or her about abuse. Rapport is very important, and concerned about the face issues. And among the 40 abuse survivors that I talked to, none of them actually sought help proactively. It was someone who are like the friends, the families, security guard in their housing estate, like people around them who felt something's wrong and then refer them to help. So outreach program that proactively reach out to them and ask them about abuse experience, having built the report would be useful. Promotion of service facilities, education awareness program. As I mentioned earlier, very few older persons have the necessary skills or literacy level to know about abuse. So reach out to them. And then we talk about that in other sections. So apart from preventing and intervening abuse, it may help to build resilience in the society, to improve, to promote positive intergenerational familial relationships. Right, so this is where I come from, Hong Kong. You're most welcome to visit us. And this is my email, so do shoot me an email if you are interested in my presentation or if you are visiting Hong Kong. I'll show you around.